Morgan's Ranch. I want to especially thank Diana Wold, who is the owner, and her husband Don. Hopefully we'll see him poking around somewhere. But Diana has been an absolutely incredible client over the last 2 years, and she really made a commitment to kind of do things green out here, and that was one of the reasons she hired Tom Brakovich as the architect, Linda Shotwell as the landscape designer, and Cullen Construction to do this project. And so we try to do our best to, all as a collaborative team, come up with suggestions and ways to kind of make this a really unique ranch. And I think we've done it. As I mentioned, Tom Brakovich was the architect. If he wants to maybe say a couple words about, kind of the overall design, there's Tom right there. If he wants to say a couple words about the overall design and concept, that'd be great.
Now?
Sure.
Well, there's two Frank Collins here. I got confused. That's Frank's dad. Well, anyway, so I met the Wolds about 3.5 years ago, and they took me out here, and it was basically, there was nothing here other than a couple old barns and that old house at the top there, which is still there. And they wanted to do a complete state-of-the-art facility, and they were interested in sustainable and green, quote-unquote, construction, overused word, of course. So, we started doing site layouts and met, and they wanted starting out with the groom's quarters, the shop, and the hay barn. That's one building. Originally, maybe it was going to be 2 buildings, but it's one building now. And then, of course, the most important part was the stables here. For the Morgan horses, they raise these amazing horses and breed them. And then, of course, the arena, which is a regulation-sized arena. They could have full events and dressage and everything in this arena. And then we needed a house for Jackie, who is a longtime caretaker, and she raises the horses, and she basically runs the operation. And then the main residence on top for the owners, Diana and Don. Plus a number of other things that happen, like drainage and things you don't really see, like putting roads in and everything. So basically, I'll let you decide what the outcome was, and we can have Diana explain how the horse facility is going to work, because I don't know much about that other than I learned a lot about stables and horses, though, and I had done a stable before, but not quite this elegant. And as you can see, you'll be able to drive the horses through here and walk them to the arena. And Jackie up at her house, that house had to be laid out just right so that it could look down on the whole operation. And of course the house at the very top, more privacy and sort of removed, and they can also look down on the whole operation, so we have to site it. I'd like to congratulate Frank for doing such a wonderful job. I mean, he's basically the main contractor, mover and shaker. He did this whole thing in a little over 2 years, which is pretty extraordinary. So, anyway, thank you very much for coming, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, Tom. So I think maybe what we'll do, we've got a lot of the subcontractors here that were involved. I'd just like to point some of them out right now. And as we walk through and kind of tour things, if you guys have specific questions, I talked a little bit about team collaboration. Really, I've kind of, over the last 10 years, my business built a really core group of subcontractors that I really count on their expertise to help us make sure that all our projects are, using the most up-to-date systems, and basically that they're all top-notch. So if you have specific questions about certain elements about a building, these would be the people maybe would be best to answer questions. Of course, you can always ask myself. I'd also like to recognize Paul Trent, who's been out here. He works for me. He's been the project manager out here, who really has helped. He's come in these last almost a year now and really helped kind of run this job, and really been just an incredible asset to this job. So he can always be a really good resource for asking questions. Jim DeVore was the electrician out here. He did everything from a lot of the underground stuff that we did. We actually had to bring PG&E power all the way from Wasm Townside Road all the way up to the main house. That was pretty involved in something we hadn't done before. He also did a lot of the LED lighting in the houses you'll see. Jim's just a fantastic electrician. He can answer a lot of questions about that stuff. Lawson and Mike are here from Solarponics. They did the radiant floor heating in both the houses. So if you have any questions about radiant floor heating, they're also here to kind of talk about that. Eric Goldberg was the civil engineer. We had a lot of really cool, the owners were really concerned about water on this site. And just making sure that we took care of the water that was here, that we were really conserved the water that we used. We did a lot of things like, catch the water off all the roofs on the arena, the stables, and the hay barn. And we built a catchment pond that all that rainwater is caught off the roofs and it's piped down to a pond. That's a seasonal pond down there. So Eric helped us engineer that. A lot of the new roads that went in, we had to make sure that we, really took care of the waterways and we weren't interrupting any of that. So he helped us a lot on that. So any kind of site civil engineering questions, Eric is a really good resource for that. Linda Shotwell did all the landscape engineer. Linda's over there. She's a landscape architect and just did a fantastic job. Also the clients really wanted to make sure we used a lot of native plants, wanted to make sure they were deer tolerant and horse friendly stuff. So Linda did a great job in picking different species of plants that would meet the client's needs. So that's just some of the people. Is there anybody I'm missing here? Jeff Hurt and Eric McCart were the finished carpenters out here. They're way in the back there. The finished carpentry really is, I think you'll see, is just incredible. Puts the finishing touches on things, and they did an incredible job. Michelle Fanning, I see back there, and she was the interior designer with the stables and the houses, and just did an incredible job. And from Design Collaborative, so she's definitely did an incredible job as well. So
Brian Robertson
and Brian Robertson and Heather from Green Goods. Brian did all the cabinets in Jackie's house as well as the stables and the hay barn, and did all those with green materials, formaldehyde-free boxes, and Green Goods is an excellent resource for building materials and finished materials. Heather's an interior designer. She can also answer questions about some of the finished materials that we use out here. Green Goods provided a lot of the finished materials out here, so and did the install, and they did an incredible job. All the tile work in the houses they also did. So anyway, that's a few of the people. If you guys have questions that we walk through, I think everybody's kind of got an idea about the stables, and we've had a chance to walk through as we've had a glass of wine here. So maybe we'll walk over to the hay barn. The hay barn was done with a local company, Vitruvian, does what they call a HIP system, which is basically a styrofoam, polystyrene panels with light gauge steel in it. So that building was all built with, they came out in huge panels about 5 foot by 20 foot tall. The roof system was also panels. We had to route out for all the plumbing and stuff, but it's an extremely well-insulated building. You never have to worry about termites. There's no wood for termites. And we had them, we bid Morro Bay Cabinets and a couple other cabinet companies, and they beat everybody's price to do these cabinets. So pretty simple shop cabinets. You'll see some really much fancier cabinets around.